The NFL is off to a crazy start. It's the best soap opera that's out there. It's the best reality TV show that exists. And it has provided some surprising storylines, including, I'll just give you a list, okay? 0-2 teams. You tell me which ones are the surprises. Bears, 0-2. Not a huge shock. Giants, 0-2. Sadly, not a huge shock. Saints, don't have a quarterback. Not a huge shock. Panthers, 0-2. Titans, 0-2. Texans, a little bit of a surprise. They're 0-2. And then you have the
Jets.
Kansas City Chiefs that are 0-2 as one of the biggest surprises. Now, you had them. Did you have them winning? I know you had them in the Super Bowl. Did you have them winning the Super Bowl in your preseason predictions?
I didn't have
I don't want to
them.
dunk on you yet. It's early.
I didn't had them. I have them.
That's right. Oh, you're not giving up on them.
No, it's the regular season, dude. I don't care what happens in September. Right now, Patrick Mahomes doesn't look great. He hasn't played a game with his receivers yet. And this is the moral of Patrick Mahomes, right? Look, Trav made a huge mistake. That's a touchdown going in. If he pulls on it, then the whole game changes. He loses Xavier Worthy, right? Hollywood Brown is just consistently banged up, and he lost his number one guy, Rashee Rice, who's going to catch 100 balls for him for 6 games. So I think when that comes back together, look. Again, nobody cares. As long as you're in the tournament, Patrick Mahomes has shown that he can win on the road. He always finds a way. As long as that Andy, I told you before, as long as that Andy, Pat, and Trav kind of triumvirate is there, I feel comfortable with them. They know how to win games. They've done it a million times. But I'm not going to lie and say that I'm not concerned about Justin Herbert, because Justin Herbert is nasty coming out of the gate like an MVP candidate. He's got Keenan Allen back. Quentin Johnston looks like the first-round pick that he was projected to be. A lot of people gave up on him so quick. Dude, he looks like a man out there now. And yeah, they look to be a team to beat in that division for sure.
So here's what concerns me about the Chiefs.
Okay.
Because they've had so much success, I don't think there's any panic for the Chiefs. And sometimes panic is good because it brings a sense of urgency. And I've been on some really good teams that you start slow, everybody's criticizing you, and you just you're like, oh, these people are overreacting. They don't know what they're talking about. Like, we'll be fine. And I'm with you. I think the Chiefs will be fine. I think they'll make the playoffs. But I am a little bit concerned because what really made them was, the big plays and the speed that was on the outside.
Sure.
And it feels like the NFL has definitely adapted, and you're seeing so much more shell coverage, like cover 4 or 2 deep, where they're like, we'll let you drive the length of the field. We're going to keep everything in front of you. And we're just not going to give up the big play. And it's really testing Patrick Mahomes' patience.
But I would say that was a worry for me if they didn't go on and win 2 Super Bowls after Cheetah left. Because who else did they have? McCole Hardman was their other burner, and they weren't hitting him down the field a ton.
Agreed.
It's been a lot of Trav. What worries me is Trav's drop-off.
So that's my point, right? He's getting older. He looks 35.
Yeah, I know. That's a little scary for me. But you hope that you can rely upon the things that I think help you win when playoffs come is experience. It's Andy Reid. It's Steve Spagnuolo. It's guys who have been there before, and you hope that they can kind of impress upon the rest of the locker room. Now you got Karlaftis is going to kind of come into his own and hopefully take on a bit more of a leadership role. That's the beauty of. So I grew up a Jets fan, obviously in New York, and my default setting was always they're ahead right now, okay, but something's going to go wrong and they'll find a way to lose. The beautiful thing about getting to watch Pat in his first 8 or 9 seasons is I've always felt the opposite. For oddly, as odd as it sounds, I felt until like middle of the third quarter in that Super Bowl, he'll find a way. He'll find a way. So I guess I tend to still think that based upon 8 years of AFC championship games.
It's all he's known.
Yeah,
that's all Patrick Mahomes has played in his AFC championship games. Like, that's his worst season.
Yeah, and he looks good moving. He looks healthy. I think he's got a little like piss and vinegar in him that a lot of people, like when we talk top 5 quarterbacks right now, they're talking Lamar, they're talking Josh Allen, they're talking Joe Burrow, they're talking Jalen Hurts. A lot of people aren't even mentioning
Justin
Mahomes.
Herbert's in that conversation.
Herbert, right.
Yeah.
So I think that's going to get – he's 29 years old. He's not washed yet, and I think a lot of people – I think the offensive line will tighten up. They got a left tackle who's a rookie. They got a couple of guys they're shuffling in and out on the rest of the line. I think they'll figure it out, and they'll lean back on what's gotten them there a bunch of times. But talk about some of the other surprises on the other end.
Yeah.
Right? Me and you were talking about – I'd love to get your idea. Colts 2-0. Daniel Jones is playing incredible, almost 600 yards through 2 weeks and no turnovers. Can you tell me about that? Is it just a change of scenery, you think?
All of it. I think this was the best thing that could have happened to Daniel Jones, was getting out of New York. New York is a really unique place to play, and you don't really understand it unless you've lived it and experienced it firsthand. I played at Florida State, so it was big-time college football. We were number 1 in the country, and so we were on ESPN a lot. We were on national TV a lot. People talked about us a lot.
Sure.
And so I remember people asking me, like, are you ready for New York? And I was like, yeah, I'll be fine. Like, I've already had all this pressure. And I remember after a practice at Florida State, and this is like only if we were playing Miami or Florida or Notre Dame or a big team, there would probably be 8 or 9 like media members in a little scrum after practice, like beat writers from Jacksonville, Fort Lauderdale, South Florida, South Georgia.
Sure.
So there'd be some coverage there. And I was like, I'm used to these scrums. In New York, I go and it's like 3 deep, like 20, 25, and everyone's looking to get that headline that stands out or to get the quote that they can run with. That's going to go, at the time, it wasn't viral, but it was going to get a lot of traction.
Be on the back page.
It was going to be on the back page. Yeah. Exactly.
Right.
So I think made it incredibly challenging for Daniel Jones. It started with his draft selection where he was drafted way too high. I still think Gettleman was wrong, and he would have dropped to 16 or 17, whatever their second pick in the first round was. That would have made more sense for them. So because he was drafted higher, he had these massive expectations set on him. And I do think he's the type of player, and he's proven this even with the Giants, when you give him good talent around him, he can win. Yeah. And so finally he goes there, and it was clearly exposed toward the end because when Saquon was healthy, they were pretty good. Yes. When his offensive line blocked, he was pretty good. He goes to a place that has a pretty good run game with Jonathan Taylor.
Very good.
He goes to an offensive coach in Shane Steichen, who is pretty good. I thought he would start over Anthony Richardson, who looks like it's going to be a bust. And he's playing with a ton of confidence because he's playing free. The expectations have completely changed for Daniel Jones, so he doesn't have to hear, oh, well, he's a bust or he's a letdown. Now he's a pleasant surprise.
Yeah, and I've had that battle with guys in this building about, is Daniel Jones going to start this year? Can Daniel Jones play in the NFL? And being in New York and being able to watch him at his best, I thought his ceiling after that first year, I said Brian Daboll came over from Buffalo. He had a 6'5", athletic quarterback, 230 pounds, turned out to be Josh Allen. The first year, it looked like Daniel Jones was trending in that direction, right? He was rushing for 700 yards. He would pick you apart if you gave him the throw, and he did it all without a real number one receiver, right? He had Saquon Barkley. They gave him Neighbors in his last year, but Neighbors was young, and Daniel Jones was already on his way out the door. I'm telling you, man, you do the right thing with this kid. He's not, if he doesn't make mistakes, he figured out kind of his fumbles problem, which was a big thing in the beginning of his career. But yeah, it's a lot lighter in Indianapolis, man. The lights aren't so bright. You can kind of get lost in the shuffle there, and just don't make mistakes and go win you a division, man.
Yeah,
and
he might. And it's only 2 games. It's only 2 games.
Sure.
But sometimes a change of scenery is exactly what a quarterback needs.
Right.
You need a new locker room that looks at you differently. You need a new opportunity, a new support staff. And I wouldn't think it's crazy. Again, it's early. It's 2-0. But we've seen Sam Darnold do it.
Yep.
We've seen Baker Mayfield do it. Geno Smith do it. We've seen it. Sometimes it takes time for it to click.
Right.
And we're so impatient as sports fans, and especially when it's your guy and you take a first-round pick on him, you want him to be good right away. Yeah. And sometimes I think it's the right move. Like, I actually thought for the Giants to part ways with Daniel Jones was the right move.
Yeah.
Like, I think it made sense for everybody, and it just sometimes for a quarterback, it clicks at a different time, and hopefully it clicks for Daniel Jones this time around.
And I don't know how much evidence you have to see of it that these young quarterbacks, when you don't rush them in immediately and you let them bake a little bit, like we've seen it happen with Patrick. We saw it happen with Aaron. We're seeing it happen with Jordan Love right now. Maybe you don't rush him in right away. Let him catch. I really hope the Giants do this with Russell and Jackson Dart. Jackson Dart showed me some things in the preseason. Obviously, it was against 2s and 3s. Do I think he's going to be Tom Brady? I don't think so yet. But do I think that there's something there? Yeah, let this kid get comfortable. Let this kid acclimate a little. Let him play against the ones in practice. And then, we talked about it already. I'm not into forcing these guys in right away so that you can see what you have, but then you ruin them at the same time if they're not the guy. You know what I mean?
Preseason is the biggest fallacy out there.
Yeah.
Because like you said, you're playing against 2s and 3s. But I think even more importantly, you're playing with a playbook.
Yeah, half a playbook.
That is maybe a third of a playbook.
And against defenses that they don't want to show.
They're only playing some very basic coverages. When you get to the regular season, all of a sudden you're getting an entirely new game plan that is twice as big with a lot of new plays and new concepts because they're drawing up things, and it changes week to week.
Yeah.
And the defenses are game planning for you specifically. People don't realize because there have been so many players that have been preseason Hall of Famers, and then they get to the regular season, everybody's like, what happened? It's a totally different ball game. So this, unfortunately, if you're a Giants fan or if you're a fan of another team that you want to play a young quarterback right now, you kind of have to trust the staff.
And the last thing I'll say about Daniel Jones in particular is he seems like, and it's a big thing in sports, man. We talk about it, but it's a confidence thing. When he was playing really well, he was a different guy in the media. He was like, he grew the beard out a little bit. He was talking to Kay Adams, kind of risen her up a little bit.
Yes.
And now, like, I heard him get interviewed after these first 2 games, and he seems like that again. He doesn't seem like that deer in headlights with the messy hair and the broken spirit. He seems like, I'm good here. I'm comfortable here. Like, and not having, maybe really Anthony Richardson was that bad where you're not worried about having a bad game. That's a big deal.
Right.
When you go in there knowing one mistake is going to get me right back to the bench or get the fans right down my neck, it's a tough way to play. You know what I mean?
Confidence is the most important thing in all of sports, but even more specifically for a quarterback, you have to believe in yourself. And you can't fake that. So when everybody's telling you how garbage you are, everybody in the media is trashing you, your own fans are booing you, it is human nature to have your confidence shaken. Right. So that's why, I mean, like, you need a change of scenery to get out of there. Because I think playing quarterback is probably 80% mental, 15% confidence, 80% confidence, 15% mental preparation, and 5% physically what you can do. Because when you get to this level, when you are a first-round pick, you can make all the throws.
Yeah.
You're physically impressive because you've been through the gauntlet of the combine and you've been poked and prodded. You've got the tools to do it. So you've got to lose that. And when that 80% of which is confidence gets chipped down to where it becomes a fraction of who you are, that's when you see quarterbacks' careers completely derailed.
Let me ask you this, and I know we have to probably move soon, but talk to me about how they say in sport, and I've done it myself. It says, good or bad, forget the last play. How do you feel like that? You feel like I feel like when I'm in a zone, I'm playing good, I had the best game I've ever had, I'm 150 yards in, and I'm like, I don't want to forget the last play. I was rolling.
Right.
So that's such an interesting dynamic. They talk about that a lot, though. If good or bad, forget the last play, move on.
I agree. My dad used to tell me never get too high with success or too low with adversity. So you can't get too caught up in your last play if you threw a touchdown, but I do feel like it carries over. And you have that confidence of coming. That's why I'm a big believer in the first 15 plays that you drop in a game, give them some completions. Give your quarterback some easy completions. If it's a screen, if it's a little quick hitch, something to at least see the ball go into the hands,
receiver's hand.
And then you can kind of start in the rhythm of the game. The hardest thing to do is to forget the last one. Like, you have to have such a short memory, but it's that human nature, that doubt that creeps in, and you're like, man, I haven't completed a pass yet. I'm 0 for 5 to start the game. Like, what are we doing?
And then though, and this has happened, I'm sure, to both of us, is it's never as bad as you think, never as good as you think. Like, I've had games where I'm like, that's the worst game I've ever played.
Right.
And then I'll watch the film and I'm like, well, I blocked really hard. You know what I mean? I got a couple of tough yards here. And then there's games where I thought I was the man. And I was like, 3 touchdowns, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
You've probably done too. You threw for 400 yards. And then you're like, oh, crap, I missed that. I made a bad read here. I left these points on the field, right?
No doubt. Always happens that way.